Hi, everybody, and welcome to the first album discussion segment of the Permanent Waves podcast. This week, we're looking at Pain of Salvation's Panther, which came out on August 28th, 2020. Now, this is a very interesting record, full of a lot of electronic elements, some aggressive metal, even a bit of rapping, but it's conceptual and very, very reflective of the world we're currently living in. Dark, gritty, and atmospheric. This one's a lot of fun. Stay tuned. So, Isaac, I have a funny story with Pain of Salvation. So, I have liked progressive metal bands, and by progressive metal, for those who don't know, I mean there's a lot to explain with this topic. Progressive metal is a fusion, of course, of metal and progressive rock. And if you don't know what progressive rock is, progressive rock was coined back in the late '60s, early '70s as a term to describe artists who were making forward-thinking rock music, which means that they were incorporating things that weren't normally found in rock, i.e. with Yes, you had the band Yes, you had more classical influence. Genesis, you had more kind of folksy. Pink Floyd were kind of more psychedelic and out there. King Crimson were just throwing jazz fusion and everything with it, whatever they want every which way. So progressive metal, of course, would be metal bands who are doing things you don't normally see in the metal genre. And of course, there are countless examples we can go down with that, but we'll start with just the core of it here. And I was a big Dream Theater fan at the time, and someone recommended Pain of Salvation because apparently they're kind of similar to Dream Theater. And I went, okay. And I forgot about it for a bit. And then I was like, Pain of Salvation. And I was like, I'm kind of Dream Theater out right now. I kind of don't really need to hear that right now. And then I heard Panther probably a couple months later. And I don't know where in the hell that comparison came from. Pain of Salvation sound nothing like Dream Theater. It's just Dream Theater, for those who don't know, are known for their musical complexity, as in just like long songs, stuff that just by visualizing how to play it, your fingers fall off kind of stuff. Pain of Salvation are experimental on a totally different level. They use a lot more electronics. There's not as much technicality. It's more just arranged in a way that's complicated. The way they use their guitars is a bit different. The vocalist kind of raps at times too, which is not something I thought I was going to hear going in. But Isaac, if you want to take the floor on this part, no.
No, I'm pretty good, but yeah, he was the one that recommended this to me. I had not heard of Pain of Salvation before. I'll just ask this though: did they ever come by? Did you ever get a chance to see them live?
I don't think so. So Pain of Salvation, a little back up here. They're a band from Sweden, actually. They've been going for quite a long time, since like around the same time as Dream Theater, actually, like early '90s. And they've have quite an extensive back catalog that's generally full of a lot of what I hear is a lot of great records. And they usually write albums that are very conceptual in nature. But yeah, I don't think they ever came around here, or if they did, it was pre-COVID, and I can't remember it because Panther was released in 2018. That was 4 years ago, 5 years ago, man. But no, I don't think we ever got a chance to see them. No.
Yeah, fair enough. I would certainly want to see them live, though. I will highly recommend if you ever get the chance. They're swinging by your town, your city, or whatnot. Go I would highly recommend to go give them a listen.
Okay, give them support. What were your first thoughts when Accelerator kicked in?
I was like, all right, we're doing this. Like, I guess it lives up to his name. At least, okay, on title, and I assume this is also on like the CD. And maybe in Spotify as well. I don't know. All the tracks, by the way, are all capitalized. Like the entire word is capitalized. So I'm like, I kind of know what I'm getting into, and I was like, all right, this is kind of what I expect.
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, what surprised me was the more industrial and electronic edge. Like, there was more production. There was more to do with the production and just how things were set up. It sounded more electronic than I was expecting, which is not a problem. I like when metal and electronic meet because they're two genres that have a reputation for not really playing nice with each other. But when they do, it's really cool. Distorted guitars and electronics, like, man, the textures you can create with that. And that's what this record does so well, is just this mix of not even just distorted guitars, like, the standard metal kind of chug in the riff. They use clean guitars. What's that second track? Unfuture? Where like it's based on a freaking acoustic riff. And the longest track, well, sorry, second longest track, Wait, is based on a piano. Like, and it's like it's not just based; it's more based on it's like more traditional progressive rock in a way because it's almost more using space. It's not trying to fill. Dream Theater gets so much flack for this. Is not trying to fill every single like moment, every single moment of sound with something. It's so conscious of like the atmosphere of the mood it's conjuring. Everything is just so elaborately constructed to me, anyways. And it more reminds me of a Pink Floyd record than a Dream Theater one. And I think that's really cool. And then also when you go from is that Wait is that one track Wait into no when you go into the interlude that fur interlude into Panther and then the rapping comes in, it was just like, is this happening? Like I seriously I sat there, I was just like, is this happening? Is a non new metal record rapping at me? That's cool, and they did it really well. That vocalist has some good range and some great versatility. I was really impressed.
Yeah, I was certainly impressed. Now I'll lay my cards down. I this was my first time listening to this,
Mm.
literally today, funny enough, and so he knows this more than I do, but I didn't really pick up much of it. But what were some of the were there any like recurring themes or maybe like recurring tunes, not instruments, but like notes? Like maybe did they keep a little like what a melody? Were there recurring melodies that they often went back to in later tracks?
Are you talking about in like a classical, like an overture kind of context?
Yeah, almost like in an overture kind of sense.
Not that I can remember. Maybe I missed them.
Okay.
But this is more, and I'll be honest. I'm kind of a music first, lyric second kind of guy.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I don't know if there's a big continuation. I am curious with this one actually, just because my brain moves so fast in one day. Because it's and this is relevant. Because like when I saw the record was called Panther, and the album cover, like the album cover is kind of not what I would expect. Like it almost looks like the cover for like a Marvel movie or a DC movie, that kind of humanoid figure with the panther face. He has that crest on his shoulder. Almost looks like he has a cape behind him with that imagery, like he's standing on top of the building or something. It's almost like heroic,
I mean,
or like dark kind of Watchmen kind of heroic. You know what I mean?
I mean, you saying that, I was like, oh, that looks like a cool image. And then you're saying this, I'm like, is this like a TV show or a movie to like Panther Warrior?
I don't know, but like that's what I mean. Is the cover is just so like I didn't really know what Pin is. I heard they sound like Dream Theater, right? But I didn't really know what they sounded like. And I saw that cover and I was like, and then accelerator kicks in, and you got the synths and the really muted guitar in that weird rhythm, and it just kind of like, I do not know what this band is going to do next. And from that point on, I was kind of hooked because I was just they've within like 3 seconds, no, less than that. Before I even heard this thing, I was already kind of like, I was intrigued, and then from that, I was just kind of like, okay, I was that's one of the best ways to get me as someone who listens to a lot of progressive music is if you make me just listen to it and go, what the fuck, then you got me. And yep. That was what this record definitely, and it did that multiple times. I mentioned the rapping enough. I won't bring it up again. Yeah, the use of clean guitars and electronics is just like, just acoustic and electronics is just such a cool sound. And they use that a lot. Clean piano, once again, they use that a lot too. There's a lot of really clever interplay between like acoustic instruments and technology on here.
Yeah, no, I agree, especially with what you're saying about like having listened to some progressive rock, like the Rush. Obviously not Rush. I somehow was thinking of Rush with this, and the same thing with Dream Theater. I was like, oh yeah, you're right in the money. Like this sounds something like Dream Theater, but also different, of course. Not of course the same, but they're doing their own thing, which I do enjoy.
Okay, but here's the $1 million question: did you like it?
Oh, of course I did. I absolutely did. I want to listen to it again. I got to give it its fair dues. Just because I listened to it once doesn't mean like, again, this is not my final statement of like, it's great. I mean, I'd highly recommend this to anybody. But I'm excited to listen to this again.
Okay, and my other question pertinent to this channel, do you think it works better as an album or pick out certain songs and listen to those first?
No, this has to be an album. This is
I
only an
agree.
album.
I
I
agree.
can't.
This. Sorry.
I no, that's fine. You could maybe what was the last song called? Icon. Icon. Maybe you could
Ooh,
like
yeah.
listen to that like it by itself. And that's not to say you can't. Like I've often like what is it? I've often zeroed in and isolated like certain tracks. I will, yeah, definitely out of an album. I will definitely listen to a track over and over and over again.
Mm,
Um, and so, but definitely, Icon could stand on its own as its own song, given it's 13 minutes long.
yeah, it's a long one. Also,
I mean,
not uncommon in progressive music, just so everyone knows.
yeah,
Uh, Songs over 8 to 10 minutes are not uncommon. Songs over 20 minutes are like a whoa, they're packing the big one kind of deal. But like that's kind of 8 minutes is like not unusual to see on a record like this.
yeah. Don't worry. I'm not like. I love it when songs go long. Although
Mm.
sometimes I'm just like, gee, how long is this like going on for? Like, holy smokes! Like, how much like how much pepper do they have in this? But yeah, no, that certainly, yeah, that 13-minute song could certainly stand on its own, I'd say.
Certainly. Another thing I want to tack onto here, and I'm going to bring this up a few more times on this channel, is that it's totally normal to listen to a record. And of course, you're acknowledging it's a whole album and it's a whole experience on its own, but you definitely have standouts. Standouts are normal. I think the standouts are what bring you back. The tracks that you're excited to hear again. That's what kind of anchors you to it. And their placement on the record matters. Like if a record's completely front loaded and the best songs are all in the front, then you kind of start giving less of a shit about the last half.
Yep.
And if they're all tacked on to the end, well, then it kind of makes it hard to get through the first half. And that's sometimes subjective, but sometimes it can be like, okay, there was a lot. This first half of this record is definitely a lot more interesting than the second half. And that just kind of chalks down to individual experience. But on the other hand, there's a second phenomenon where you see every now and then where you listen to a record and you acknowledge that was good, but you don't really see any immediate standouts. And that's not always a bad thing. But it's interesting when that happens. You can go, okay, why is that? And sometimes it's just because the record's just so damn cohesive, it's hard to pick a favorite.
Yeah.
That's normal. That's why I typically, and I'm going to say this again on this channel again, fuck, I'm just rambling here, is I usually go by a 3-listen rule. Because the first listen, you go, what the hell am I hearing? Understandably, especially if you're diving into a weird record like this one. Second listen, you're kind of, okay, I'm more comfortable with this. And by the third, you know what you're getting into, and you kind of know what you're excited to hear again, and then you can kind of have a more objective look at things. So I try and get through at least 3 listens of the same record before I really form a judgment. Because I feel like that's like gives you enough time to sit with it, just gives you enough time to process what you're hearing. And yeah, for me with this one, I do agree. Icon's a freaking behemoth of a song. Accelerator for out the gate with that weird rhythm. Unfuture for the acoustic guitars. That the title track for quite a few reasons. But one thing, oh crap, I lost my train of thought there. But yeah, with this one, the only thing I kind of wanted more from this record was and this is just me. This is totally a me thing because my music tastes are rooted in hard rock and heavy metal. Like the first artist I recall really knowing and liking was Elvis Presley. I always want a full throttle rock number. I want a battery like off of Master of Puppets. I want like a Dangerous Ground, like a Crush 40's first album. I want like a crap. I can't think of names. Like a Painkiller or a One Shot at Glory. I want or a Scream for Vengeance. I just kind of like to have that kind of more pensive, spacey atmosphere. It's absolutely shattered by just a riff and then just kick into high gear. But that's just me personally because this record works so well as an experience, and maybe that would break the flow. But I just want to see. I just love it when a band just like says fuck it and just lets loose. That's always just so cool to me.
I'm certainly with you on that. I like it but I like it when they can hold back.
Yes.
And then they also let loose because it's a
yes.
give and take.
Nailed
it. It's waves. All right. We don't want the same, like, okay, you sort of can have that. Like there's obviously some bands that just do that. But what I also like looking for is especially what makes those with certain bands, what makes like, you know, your Full Throttle analogy of just like I want them to like to go unloose, go let loose, basically,
Yeah.
is the appreciation that they can hold back and do something else. That
Mm-hmm.
may be out of their comfort zone, or maybe like I wasn't expecting this from the, like this is a different side of them that I was not realizing,
That's
and
true.
they actually did it good. So moments of brevity, there you go, a moment to
That's a good
breathe.
word. Yeah.
That's again some uh, uh, excuse me, some bands do that, some bands absolutely just like going hard all the way, and you can enjoy that, and sometimes they're the opposite, and they just never like, they're very moody and atmospheric, and they don't change at all, they don't like increase at all, so you
Mm-hmm.
like that balance.
Yeah, and I mean, I've always said that you can tell a lot about a metal band or a really heavy band by how well they do an acoustic session
Yes.
or an acoustic track. Like, is it like a token standard thing, or do they put a lot of thought into it, or do they know how to put a lot of thought into it? Because that
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
shows, exactly, it shows their mastery of like all dynamics in a sense. Because yes, there are a lot of metal bands that like to go full throttle all the time, and that's why we listen to metal. Let's be honest here.
Yep.
But we're also, but at the same time, we're always very impressed when a band can just pull back and just let you breathe and still just like have you. Like, that is so cool to me. But yeah, at the end of the day, Pain of Salvation, great band. I've only listened to truth be told, this record and one of their earlier ones called The Perfect Element. Also a great record. That's a concept album, by the way. That is a true blooded concept album all the way through. Um, but I will say I'm going to listen to them a lot more because they're interesting. They turn me on my head a bit, and I never know what to expect from them. So I'm definitely going to be recommending more from this artist in the future.
Yeah, I definitely recommend this album for fully. Like, I think everybody should go and give it a listen there, on whatever on whatever platform you want. I'll say that. Because you know, obviously, I would not suggest. I would first suggest, if you're going to get this physically, we'll go find a record store,
Yeah.
and someplace that isn't, you know, Walmart or Best Buy, or Amazon.
Well,
That's just me.
it's yeah. I personally got mine off Bandcamp. I bought the digital record.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, go to
Yeah,
Bandcamp.
and it was on a Bandcamp Friday, so 93% went to the artist. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, absolutely check it out if you have well up to 13 minutes for that that long ass icon track. Thanks for listening, everybody. Since this discussion, I've listened to the album quite a bit more, and I can discern there is a bit of a concept about how we treat each other and feeling like a panther in a dog's world. As cheesy as that may seem, the idea being is that our differences should be examined, opposed to being derided or criticized more than anything else. Panther is a plea for understanding, and in the world we live in right now, with all of its darknesses and all of its issues, we need that now more than ever. Thanks for listening, everybody. Keep your ears open, and we'll see you next time.